that the producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
And there is no resolution in sight for Walt Disney Company when it comes to Snow White 2025 at the box office. This is exactly why Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is in pure panic mode over not the Rachel Zegler backlash, but the entire backlash surrounding this movie in general.
Disney has formally announced that it will reboot Snow White again after months of controversy, industry fallout, and unrelenting fan backlash. Not just backlash, but the entire backlash surrounding this movie in general. The film is now considered to be one of the studio's biggest failures in recent years. Disney executives presented the new remake as a course correction during a private media event.
And just how once trusted critics that shill for the Disney company all the time, even they are beginning to turn their back against them. That's how bad this movie really is. Even if you look at the IMDb rating score, that's when you really know how terrible this movie is and how it really hit rock bottom.
And a renewed devotion to classic narrative, suggesting their goal to regain audience confidence while healing the studio's damaged connection with its multi-generational fans. The Rachel Zegler-led production, first marketed as a modern feminist version of the original 1937 picture, garnered attention early on for its daring changes from the source material. Even though the studio thought it was forging a forward-thinking route, the awkwardness turned into viral talking points that generated a lot of discussion and, ultimately, animosity.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evident so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Film critics and nostalgic audiences soon banded together to express their displeasure with the significant modifications. Not only was the backlash loud, but it persisted. In an attempt to disassociate itself from the consequences, the studio has announced a new Snow White project that would start production in late 2025, despite hashtags denouncing the creative direction.
After one hell of a PR tour, Disney's live-action Snow White is finally, I know, you were wondering.
The urgency and high-stakes Disney faces are reflected in the emotional pulse and visual language of the original animated masterpiece, which includes the final one.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her.
Oh my God.
And I can only hope.
What does that mean?
That despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
According to executives, a well-executed revamp may restore the title and win back the audience. Narrative arc, which allows for minor revisions while closely adhering to the 1937 scenario. They claim that these modifications will honor the earlier attempt, which was generally viewed as being overly eager to undermine the original's underpinnings. Has ruined her career as well as the careers of all those involved in the film's production. The studio is reportedly looking for a main actress that epitomizes old Hollywood elegance, according to unnamed insiders close to the film, where the focus shifted to off-screen remarks. According to reports, this effort will involve stricter media training guidelines to guarantee that messaging stays consistent with the movie's ideas.
And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? This is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child of the Democratic Party.
It's a little difficult. Following difficult lessons learned, the studio has refocused on delivering stories in a unified manner. Public PR departments leaked documentaries as the Ziggler movie was being released. These misalignments resulted in the need to stop those problems from happening again. The reputation of the movie isn't the only thing at risk. Only a few weeks after its premiere, merchant toys and clothing are also at risk. And reports from inside Disney's consumer products business, CERNs, Disney has engaged a fresh team of creatives to oversee the remake. The filmmaker, who will be identified in the upcoming weeks, has expertise making internationally popular live-action and animated movies and is renowned for striking a balance between emotion and compelling character arcs. With this coupling, the business intends to give the new edition heart, depth, and universal resonance.
Look no further than what Disney is doing with their woke, DEI, feminist agenda.
There will inevitably be some updates, even though the plot will mostly follow the original. According to sources, the iconic forest animals from the classic will make a comeback with improved animation that combines computer-generated imagery and real-world effects. Additionally, the dwarfs will be carefully redesigned, avoiding the controversy surrounding their redesign or omission in the last movie. New compositions will coexist with repaired masterpieces like Someday My Prince Will Come and Hi-Ho, which arrived at the Louvre in fragments, as music will once again take center stage. Disney's choice to use experts and legacy animators who have experience with earlier princess productions is arguably the most significant change. To provide advice on tone, tempo, and emotional coherence, these people, many of whom contributed to the visual and narrative identity of the Renaissance-era films, are being consulted. Rebuilding goodwill apparently requires Disney's executives to get back in touch with the company's creative origins. The initial press announcement for the project had a remarkably modest tone, admitting prior mistakes without specifying specifics.
Tell me if this is attractive to you. Does this, imagine you invested into her being the face of the movie. She's the main character and she's trying to promote the movie. Would this make you want to go watch the movie when she's starring in it and she's the main character?
Acknowledge the significance of paying tribute to the tales that shaped Disney into what it is now. This new chapter of Snow White is based on that admiration and our commitment to presenting classic stories to audiences of today, the statement said. The sentiment was evident despite the veil. Disney is aware that it needs to proceed with caution. Since the announcement of the reboot, Rachel Zegler has mainly kept quiet. As criticism of the remake grew last year, the actress, once praised for her breakthrough performance in West Side Story, found herself at the center of an online conflagration. Despite being meant to encourage empowerment, her media appearances were frequently perceived as tone-deaf or disdainful. Zegler subsequently asserted that her remarks were misconstrued, but the criticism had already begun. Although no formal statement has been issued, her departure from the upcoming movie is anticipated. Disney wants to start over, both on and off screen, according to sources. It's unclear if Zegler will make a public statement, but for now, it seems like she's completely removing herself from the conversation. It also illustrates Disney's intention to maintain the project's focus rather than on specific individuals. Fans are speaking up in the interim. Cautious optimism. The revelation has spurred discussions about legacy, repentance, and what it means to revisit a tale as revered as Snow White in internet forums. Some people are thrilled about the possibility of a fresh start, while others are still doubtful. One person remarked, "I just want the magic back. Give me the romance, the songs, and the forest with animation. If they do it correctly this time, I'll be there on opening night." Disney hopes that feeling will result in a resurgence of confidence, as well as ticket sales. The movie is anticipated to go into pre-production by the end of 2025, and it will be released in theaters in the spring of 2027. Marketing materials, such as teaser art, audio samples, and behind-the-scenes videos, are being developed well in advance, in order to create anticipation. Ahead of the movie's release, the studio is also negotiating with Disney parks to bring back Snow White theming in a few attractions. Disney is determined not to let Snow White fade under the shadow of a single blunder, regardless of whether this tactic will succeed where the last one failed. For a studio that once pioneered the fairy tale genre, this is more than simply another remake. It's an attempt to rebuild its reputation.
She destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie.
The world might be reminded why Snow White was the film that started it all if the new version finds the correct balance. Executives are reportedly maintaining a laser-like emphasis on emotional resonance, consistency, and cohesiveness as work gets underway behind the scenes.
The producers, far-left activists in Hollywood, are turning on her. Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
Several departments are closely examining every aspect, from lighting design and soundtrack to costume and casting, to make sure it aligns with the studio's traditional ideals and contemporary artistic objectives. Disney seems to understand that true storytelling enchantment cannot be replaced by corporate gloss, and that Snow White needs to feel like home in order to thrive. Even the most ardent Disney detractors concur that this movie is the best one to repair the studio's damaged reputation. The stakes are enormous, both monetarily and symbolically. Reimagining Snow White is a referendum on the company's capacity for adaptation, introspection, and listening, not merely a creative choice.
We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarves. So we'll guarantee no employment for little people while getting rid of this component that warranted CGI. It was the worst decision they could possibly make.
Now, the question is not if Disney can produce a different version, but rather if the studio the question is not if Disney can create another version, but rather if the studio can regain the confidence of a viewership that is still anticipating the most equitable version.
You could look at the fact that she has been sabotaging this film for years at this point, all in the sort of pursuit of entitlement.